Thanks so much for joining us. We've got a lot to talk about this morning, as we usually do, but we're going to start with Larry, Larry, you've got a lot to talk about as well.
A lot going on. Let's talk about 10 to 10, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Here we go. Actually, it's 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. 11 a.m. we're at 75 degrees, in the 80s this afternoon, low 80s between about 2 and 5. 11 o'clock tonight, a mild 69 degrees. For today, once again, low 80s. Not too bad tomorrow. A little more cloudiness around. We'll be in the mid to upper 70s. Rain for the upcoming weekend, showers around, and then next week, still pretty mild. In fact, next Tuesday, we're back to right around 80 degrees, and that is your forecast this morning, Carol.
Larry, thanks. Turning to more of today's top stories in your morning rush. This morning, North Carolina's State Board of Education laying out new guidelines for COVID-19 testing in schools. State health officials are offering up several options for ramping up testing. They say schools shouldn't just test those with symptoms. They say staff and students should be tested on a regular basis, either weekly or monthly. The State Board of Education will meet this morning at 9 a.m. to discuss all the changes. Well, if you went to Mechtoberfest, you can now get a COVID-19 test for free. The county health department urging anyone who went to Mechtoberfest to get tested after 2 people at the event tested positive for COVID. Those free tests, by the way, will be available at Old Mecklenburg Brewery on Saturday from 8 in the morning till 11 in the morning. Well, the clock is ticking to register to vote right here in North Carolina. Tomorrow is, in fact, the last day to register. You can register on the State Board of Elections website. You'll need a valid North Carolina ID, and that will let you access the DMV's online registration. You can also call. You can call the Board of Elections, and they can walk you through the entire process there. Senate candidate Cal Cunningham apologizing now to supporters. It's his first public appearance since news of his alleged affair.
I want you to hear something directly from me. I am deeply sorry for the hurt that I have caused in my personal life.
The Army Reserve now investigating Cunningham, who serves as a lieutenant colonel, by the way. This is coming after a California woman claimed that she and Cunningham had an extramarital affair. Today, Eric Trump headed to the Charlotte area. President Trump's son will host a Make America Great Again event at the Aw Shucks Farm in Monroe. That starts at 3:30 this afternoon. Well, this morning, President Trump declaring himself cured from COVID-19 just 1 week after testing positive for the virus. Wake Up Charlotte's Tracy Potts joining us live from D.C. And Tracy, doctors say anyone who tests positive should isolate for 2 weeks, but the president is already back at work.
Good morning, Carolyn. With the president back in the Oval Office, the big question seems to be, is he still contagious? His doctor says he's had no fever for 4 days, no symptoms for 24 hours, and he also hasn't completed the recommended 10 to 14-day quarantine for people with an active infection.
This was a blessing from God that I caught it.
President Trump out of isolation back in the Oval Office, praising the experimental antibody cocktail he's taking.
I'm going to make it free. You're not going to pay for it. It just made me better, okay? I call that a cure.
I think it's a tragedy that the president deals with COVID like it is something not to be worried about. When already 210,000 people have died. I think it's a travesty.
He's back in the West Wing with limited staff and protective gear, on the phone with Republicans about the coronavirus stimulus.
The stimulus negotiations are off. If the speaker is willing to look at those things on a piece-by-piece basis, then we're willing to look at it.
A piecemeal deal, $1,200 checks now, money for testing, schools, renters, and businesses on hold.
All he has ever wanted in the negotiation was to send out a check with his name printed on it.
Outside Washington, workers are suffering.
The partisanship is just totally ruining everything for us.
We've dipped into savings that are supposed to be for our kids. And I just don't know if there's recovery from that if nothing gets done.
Economic recovery delayed by a president who says he's cured of COVID 2 days after leaving the hospital. So now it's day 3. We'll see if the president shows up in the West Wing again today. Meantime, Wall Street seems to like this idea of breaking up the stimulus. The Dow rebounded more than 500 points, its best day since July. I'm Tracy Potts for Wake Up Charlotte.
The vice presidential candidates going head to head in their first and only debate of the election. They discussed a wide range of topics, including the White House's response to the coronavirus pandemic.
The vice president is the head of the task force. and knew on January 28th how serious this was.
When I look at their plan that talks about advancing testing, creating new PPE, developing a vaccine, it looks a little bit like plagiarism.
Well, they each praised their presidential candidates, as you can imagine, discussing the plans for the next 4 years. And Rachel, this debate still trending on social media this morning.
That's right. Millions of people have been weighing in since late last night, giving their thoughts about the first and the only vice presidential candidate. So let's talk about it real quick and some things that we're seeing on social media. The tally is in for the amount of time that each of the candidates got to speak, and it was actually pretty close. They came in just seconds of each other. This was way more of a controlled debate. Vice President Mike Pence did interrupt Harris a little more than a dozen times. She kept telling him that she was speaking, which was one of the hashtags that has been trending, Mr. Vice President, along with Trump, Pence, and Harris, all trending as well. Both of the presidential candidates reacted to the debate. We'll start with President Trump, who has declared Mike Pence the winner of that debate, as you can expect and anticipate that he would say, along with Democratic challenger Joe Biden saying that Harris made him proud. We cannot talk about the debate, unfortunately, without pointing out the one and only fly that has been the meme of the day. It's going to be, at least. Twitter lit up about it all. One of my favorite tweets was, "The fly knew its 2-minute limit." And I don't know if you saw this, but immediately after this, the Biden campaign started selling fly swatters, and they sold out in a matter of minutes. So drop us a comment below if you watched the debate or if you saw our recaps right here, and let us know what you thought about it. Caroline.
Fly swatters. All right, Rachel, thanks so much. Time to connect the dots when we make the news make sense. Facebook, working or trying to work to make things right after the last election. That's what it says. And it wants to stop the spread of misinformation this time around. So expect to see some major changes to your newsfeed on Election Day.
Facebook was at the center of controversy after the 2016 presidential election when word leaked Russian operatives had used the site to influence the race. So what is it doing differently this election? Let's connect the dots. Facebook just announcing it will ban political ads as soon as the polls close on Election Day, which seems pretty odd considering most votes will be in at that point. But according to reports, the company's concerned the site could be used to spread false information about the outcome. So now they'll prohibit all political and issue-based advertising indefinitely after polls close November 3rd. Facebook also says it will place notifications at the top of the newsfeed to notify users that no winner has been declared. It will rely on news outlets to declare a winner in the presidential race. Facebook also plans to remove any posts that include language that suggests violence, intimidation, or an attempt to control. The company says it has run over 80 possible scenarios of possible outcomes in an attempt to predict an unpredictable year. And that's connecting the dots.
And make sure you watch us each and every morning starting at 4:30 on Wake Up Charlotte. Have a great day.